Om Shiva Shakti Samarambham Bhaskaracharya Madhyamam Asmat Srinatha Padyantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Hari Om. Okay, so I think we did 17 to 57 last time. Sindhuji, can you do like 17 to 37? And then Pratibha Garu, are you on today?
Radhe Krishna. Rajesh.
Is Pratibha joining?
Yeah, he's here.
Okay, so she can do 38 to 57. Okay, chapter 1.
Yeah.
ददर्श सः सपृष्टस्तेन गस्तु त्वं दुर्मना इव लक्ष्यसे इत्याकर्ण्यवजस्तस्य भूपदे प्रणयोदिदं प्रत्युवाच सदं वैश्य प्रशयावनदो नृपं वैश्योवाच समाधिर्नाम वैश्योऽहमुत्पन्नो धनिनां कुले पुत्रदारेर्निरस्तश्च धनलोभात् असाधुभिः.
You don't have to break that. You can say just together. Dhanalobhada sadhubihi.
Okay. Dhanalobhada sadhubihi vihinascha dhanedarei putrairadaya medhanam vanamabhyagado dukhi nirastaschaptabandhubihi soham na vedmi putranam kushalatmigam pravrittim स्वजनानां च धारणां चात्र संस्थितः किं नु तेषां गृहे क्षेमम् अक्षेमं किं नु साम्प्रतं कथं ते किं नु सद्वत्ता दुर्वृत्या सद्वृत्ता ओके कथं ते किं नु सद्वृत्ता दुर्वृत्ता किं नु मे सुधाः राजोवाच यैर्निरस्तो भवां लुब्धै पुत्रधारादिभिर्धनैः तेषु किं भवद स्नेहमनुबध्नादिमानसम्.
That one, asneham anubhadnati.
Oh, okay. तेषु किं भवद स्नेहमनुबध्नादिमानसम्. वैश्योवाच एवमेतद्यदा प्राह भवानस्मद्गदं वजः किं करोमि न बध्नादि मम निष्ठुरतां मनः यै सन्त्यज्य पितृस्नेहं धनलुब्धनिराकृतः पदि स्वजनहार्दं च हार्दितेष्वेव मे मनः किमेतन्नाभिजानामि जानन्नपि महामदे. यत् प्रेम प्रवणं चित्तं विगुणेष्वपि बन्धुषु तेषां कृते मे निःश्वासो दौर्मनस्यं च जायते करोमि किं यन्न मनस्तेष्व प्रीतिषु निष्ठुरं. मार्कण्डेयो उवाच ततस्तौ सहितौ विप्रतं मुनिं समुपस्थितौ समाधिर्नाम वैश्यो ससौ जपार्थिव सत्तमः कृत्वा दुदौ यथा न्यायं यथार्हं तेन संविदम् उपविष्टौ कदा काश्चित् चक्रदुर्वैश्य पार्थिवौ.
You can just say the next two also and then stop. Two more lines.
Two more. Okay. राजोवाच भगवस्त्वामहं प्रष्टुमिच्छाम्येकं वदस्वत्तत्.
Yeah.
So is that actually 37, Rajeshji?
No, it was 40. I just gave extra couple lines.
I numbered it based on that Sanskrit.
Yeah.
दुःखाय यन्मे मनसः स्वचित्ताय ततां विना मम त्वं गतराजस्य राजाङ्गेष्वखिलेष्वपि जानतोऽपि यथाज्ञस्य किमेतन्मुनिसत्तम अयं च निकृत पुत्रैर्दारैर्भृत्यैस्ततोर्जितः स्वजनेन च सत्यं सन्त्यक्तस्तेषु हार्दि तथाप्यति एवमेष तथाहं च द्वावप्यत्यन्तदुःखितौ दृष्टदोषे विषये ममत्वाकृष्टमानसौ तत्किमेतन्महाभागयन्मोहो ज्ञानिनोरपि ममास्य च भवत्येषा विवेकान्धस्य मूढथा उवाच ज्ञानमसि समस्तस्य विषयगोचरे विषयश्च महाभागयाति चैव पृथक् पृथक् दिवान्धा प्राणिन केचित् रात्रावन्धास्तथा परे केचित् दिवा तथा रात्रौ
Praninas.
तुल्यदृष्टयः
Praninas.
प्राणिनस्तुल्यदृष्टयः ज्ञानिनो मनुजा सत्यं किं तु तेन हि केवलं यतो हि ज्ञानिनः सर्वे पशु पक्षी मृगादयः ज्ञानं च तन्मनुष्याणाम् इत्येषां मृगपक्षिणां मनुष्याणां च यत्तेषां तुल्यमन्यत् तथोभयोः ज्ञानेऽपि सति पश्यैतान् पतंगाशावचंचुषु चंचुषु कणमोक्षादृतान् मोहात् पीड्यमाना न पिक्षुदा मानुषा मनुजव्याघ्र साभिलाषा सुतान् प्रति लोभात् प्रत्युपकाराय नन्वेतान् किं न पश्यसि तथापि मम तावर्ते मोहगर्ते निपातिताः महामाया प्रभावेण संसारस्थितिकारिणा तन्नात्र विस्मयकार्यो योगनिद्रा जगत्पतेः महामाया हरिश्चैषा तया मोह्यते जगत् ज्ञानिनामपि चेतांसि देवी भगवती हि सा बलादाकृष्य मोहाय महामाया प्रयच्छति तया विसृज्यते विश्वं जगदेच्चराचरम् जगदेतच्चराचरम् सैषा प्रसन्ना वरदा नृणा भवति मुक्तये सा विद्या परमा मुक्तेर्हेतुर्भूता सनातनी संसार बंध हेतुश्च सैव सर्वेश्वरेश्वरी
இது பண்ணிட்டல ராஜேஷ்.
I think that I don't know where exactly we stopped, but maybe that line on.
We stopped at the first paragraph. I mean, it's verse number 56. We stopped.
Oh, 56.
We stopped at the 56th.
56.
Jagadeta Characharam at that point. Okay.
Correct. Adu varthu. Yeah.
All right, very good. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll kind of teach the meaning. So we're going to break the meaning today into two parts. I'll teach one part till of what that May-30 is telling, right, till that part. And then there is a second part which talks about this Madhu and Kaitaba, which we'll cover in the second half of the class, the meaning, right? So let's start with Shobha, Suresh, you can be student, and then Narayana, you can be student first half, okay? So kind of where we left, right? So we left where this King Surata is there, and then he's coming and meeting Sage Sumedas, and he also has that Samadhi, which is a Vaishya who's coming. And just to kind of recap, right? So King Surata is coming and telling this sage that, hey, look, you are a very great soul, right? And he says, my mind is not under control. It's always creating me sorrow because I left the kingdom. I'm still thinking about it. Then he says, it's not just me, but he says there's also this Vaishya whose children and his wife, everybody forsake him, drove him out. He's lost all his money, but he's still very attached to them, right? And he kind of says, sometimes, you also want to say that you are the wise, right? So he's saying, both myself and this Vaishya are very wise people. It's not like we are stupid people, right? We understand that attachment to this is bad. We understand that they have ignored us, but somehow we are not able to control our mind, right? Even though we are wise, we are not able to, we are not able to stay away from that. We are still getting attached to it. So he says, you please tell us, right? Why is that happening? So that's when the sage Sumedas is kind of telling. He says that, look, you are wise. He says, so are all the Pashu Pakshinam. He said, Mriga Pashu Pakshinam. We saw one of that line today when you were reviewing, right? He says, so are all the birds, animals, wild animals. He said, they are also extremely wise. right? He says, like you can see during the day. He says there are a lot of birds and animals who can see during the day. You cannot see at night. He says there are some birds and animals who can see at night. So they are also wise. They are able to see at night. Some of them can see both during day and night, right? They can protect them. You are able to protect yourself from safety. So can a bird and an animal. They also have the wisdom to protect themselves, right? And you are going hunting for food. They can also go hunting for food. So he says a lot of these things. He says when you compare yourself to these birds and animals and everything, they also have the wisdom. They also know how to take care of themselves. They are also they may not be the same wisdom as yours, but they are also wise, right? So he says just because you say you're wise, there are other people also who are wise, right? And then he says, however, he says one thing that you have, which by you he means the king and the Vaishya, all humans, is you have that ability to get more knowledge, which the birds and the animals do not have. So he says wisdom is one side, but you also have to get knowledge. If you do not get knowledge, then this wisdom also is useless, because if you're ignorant, then it's no use you being wise. You can only go so much, right? You have to have that extra knowledge, right? Which unfortunately he says these birds and animals do not have that opportunity, but you have that opportunity, right? And he gives one example. He says you've seen all these birds which are actually bringing in food in their mouth to come and feed to their small children, right? So the birds are doing their parental duty. But when the sibling or when the child is freed, the bird flies and goes away. It leaves the tree and goes. The mother or the father bird is not sitting and crying, saying, I took care of you. I got you food in my mouth, right? I saved for you. You are not taking care of me. You are leaving me and going. Those birds do not cry. He says, a lot of these animals, right? The turtles and all of them who give birth, and then suddenly all those baby turtles become big. They just go off into the ocean. The parents don't go running behind them. He says somehow they have that knowledge, saying that when the time comes, people are going to go take care. You cannot be attached to things. Just because you did something, you cannot expect something in return. He says that is a wisdom which the birds and the animals and the wild animals have. He says which you both don't have, right? You are missing that thing. You are still attached to it. And he says the reason you are attached to it, that's when he kind of comes to this. He says the reason you are still doing this is there is this great Mahamaya, who is like a big, like an enchantress. She's able to enchant your mind. She's able to put your mind into this whirlpool. So this Mahamaya is the one who is then drawing you into that sense of attraction and attachment and all of these things. And then that's when he starts introducing this. So first he's answering the question of why you are getting attached. What is this attachment that is actually happening? He says that is all, he says you are wise, but he says don't worry, not just you. He says even the greatest of sages who have all the knowledge, even they are not beyond the control of this Mahamaya. Even they are also bound by that Mahamaya. So don't beat yourself up thinking that you are not smart. Even the greatest of people are not able to be free from that. So that's when he goes on to describe who this Mahamaya is. He says that this Mahamaya is nothing but she's like she's part of this Mahavishnu, right? Who is the creator, who is the source and everything. And he says, it's like saying that you cannot quite separate out where Vishnu ends or Vishnu begins and where Mahamaya or yogic, yoga nidra, where it is. But she says she's such an inherent part of Mahavishnu that she is the energy of Mahavishnu, without which even Mahavishnu cannot function. So they both kind of work hand in hand, right? So that's why it's very difficult to separate out. And then he goes on to describe the greatness of Mahamaya, which we saw in some of these earlier chapters also, saying that, she's the personification of all the wisdom, she's personification of all the wealth, and then, she's blessed with all the supreme knowledge. He goes on to describes all of that. And then this, king then comes and asks him that you talk about this Mahamaya, right? But you are a person who, you look like a person, Sumedas, who knows everything, right? You seem to know the ultimate truth. So who is this Mahamaya? You keep talking about this Mahamaya. She's the greatest. She has all the power. She's a supreme lady. Who is this Mahamaya? How does she look like? Where was she born? Right? So please give me all the details of this Mahamaya. Right? That's what the king asks. And that is when the sage then starts telling about the details of who this Mahamaya is and how she actually, how she comes about, right? So that is the story of Madhu and Kaitaba. So he's going to go and explain this Mahamaya through multiple stories. So in the first chapter, he's going to talk about Madhu and Kaitaba, and then he's going to talk about Chanda, Munda, all of them are going to come. So through all these examples, he's going to talk about this Mahamaya. So he first starts off by telling that this Mahamaya doesn't have birth or death or anything like that. She's eternal like Mahavishnu. She's part of that. But however, she takes incarnations at various points for various purposes. So very loosely, you can say she was born on the earth, or she was born for that purpose, but she's not truly born. She's always there. It's just that she's incarnating. So at that time, people loosely refer to her as being born, and then when she's done, she goes back, right? So you cannot compare it like birth and death like common mortals do. So that is how he kind of starts off with the introduction of Mahamaya, and then we'll go to the story later on when that comes, right? Okay, so today we'll start with 57. So Saisha Prasanna Varada Nrinam Bhavati Muktaye Sa Vidya Parama Mukter Ir Hetu Bhuta Sanatani Samsara Bandha Hetuscha Saiva Sarveshwareshwari Sarveshwareshwari Sarva Ishwari Sarva Ishwari Ishwari Sarveshwareshwari सैषा प्रसन्ना वरदा नृणां भवति मुक्तये सा विद्या परमा मुक्तेर्हेतुभूता सनातनी संसारबन्धहेतुश्च सैव सर्वेश्वरेश्वरी
सैषा प्रसन्ना वरदा नृणां भवति मुक्तये सा विद्या परमार्मुक्तिर्हेतुभूता सनातनी संसारबन्धहेतुश्च सैव सर्वेश्वरेश्वरी सैषा प्रसन्ना वरदा नृणां भवति मुक्तये सा विद्या परमा मुक्तिर्हेतुभूता सनातनी संसारबन्धहेतुश्च सैव सर्वेश्वरेश्वरी
सैषा प्रसन्ना वरदा नृणां भवति मुक्तये सा विद्या परमा मुक्तेर्हेतुभूता सनातनी संसारबन्धहेतुश्च सैव सर्वेश्वरेश्वरी सैषा प्रसन्ना वरदा नृणां भवति मुक्तये सा विद्या परमा मुक्तेर्हेतुभूता सनातनी संसारबन्धहेतुश्च सैव सर्वेश्वरेश्वरी
राजोवाच भगवन् का हि सा देवी Mahamayeti Yam Bhavan. So this is where the Raja is asking. You're saying this Mahamaya. Who is that? Who is that Maya Devi that you're talking about, right? That's where the king is asking here. Rajovacha Bhagavan Kahi Sa Devi Mahamayeti Yam Bhavan.
राजोवाच भगवन् काहि सा देवी महामायेति यां भवान् राजोवाच भगवन् काहि सा देवी महामायेति यां भवान्
राजोवाच भगवन् काहि सा देवी मायेति यां भवान् राजोवाच भगवन् काहि सा देवी महामायेति यां भवान्
ब्रवीति कथम उत्पन्ना सा कर्मास्याश्च. So Ishandacha कर्मास्याश्च किम द्विज यत् प्रभावा च सा देवी यत् स्वरूपा यदुद्भवा. ब्रवीति कथम उत्पन्ना सा कर्मास्याश्च किम द्विज यत् प्रभावा च सा देवी यत् स्वरूपा यदुद्भवा.
ब्रवीति कथमुत्पन्ना सा कर्मास्याश्च किं द्विज यत्प्रभावा सा देवी यत्स्वरूपा यदुद्भवा. ब्रवीति कथमुत्पन्ना सा कर्मास्याश्च किं द्विज यत्प्रभावा च सा देवी यत्स्वरूपा यदुद्भवा.
ब्रवीति कथमुत्पन्ना सा कर्मास्याश्च किं द्विज Yat prabhava cha sa devi yat swarupa yadudbhava.
And in the first word, braviti, short e.
Okay. Braviti kadamutpanna sa karmasyascha kim dvija. Dvija solma dvija dane.
Vijay.
Dvija
Karmas yascha. Under that word, yascha, you said. Karmas yascha. Kim dvijay.
karmasyascha kim dvija. Yat prabhava cha sa devi yat swarupa yadudbhava.
Tat sarvam shrotum ichchami, short e. Tvatto brahma vidam vara rishiruvacha nityaiva sa jagan murtis taya sarvamidam tatam. तत्सर्वं श्रोतुमिच्छामि त्वत्तो ब्रह्मविदाम्बर ऋषिरुवाच नित्यैव सा जगन्मूर्तिस्तया सर्वमिदं ततम्.
यत्सर्वं श्रोतुमिच्छामि त्वत्तो ब्रह्मविदां वर ऋषिरुवाच नित्येव सा जगन्मूर्तिस्तया सर्वमिदं ततं तत्सर्वं श्रोतुमिच्छामि त्वत्तो ब्रह्मविदां वर ऋषिरुवाच नित्येव सा जगन्मूर्तिस्तया सर्वमिदं ततं.
Shobhan, the Jagat Murtis, but then because the Ma is coming, that it becomes a in. So Jagan
Okay,
Murtis.
Jagan. Okay.
So change it to in, yeah.
Tatsarvam shrotumiच्छामि tvato brahmavidam vara rishiruvacha nityaiva sa jaganmurtistaya sarvamidam tatam.
Narayan in the first line, Tvatto it and a ta. Tvatto Shrotumichami Tvatto.
Tvatto. Na tapa chuttenu. Okay.
Tvatto you said, it and a ta.
Tvatto. Itto. Okay. Tatsarvam shrotumiच्छामि tvatto vidambara rishiruvacha nityaiva sa jaganmurtistaya sarvamidam tattam.
Tathapi tat samutpathir itandati. Samutpathir bahuda shruyatam mama devanam karya siddhyartam avir bhavati sa yada. तथापि तत्समुत्पत्तिर्बहुधा श्रूयतां मम देवानां कार्यसिद्ध्यर्थमाविर्भवति सा यदा.
तथापि तत्समुत्पत्तिर्बहुधा श्रूयतां मम देवानां कार्यसिद्ध्यर्थम् आविर्भवति सा यदा. तथापि तत्समुत्पत्तिर्बहुधा श्रूयतां मम देवानां कार्यसिद्ध्यर्थम् आविर्भवति सा यदा.
तथापि तत्समुत्पत्तिर्बहुधा श्रूयतां मम देवानां कार्यसिद्ध्यर्थम् आविर्भवति सा यदा. तथापि तत्समुत्पत्तिर्बहुधा श्रूयतां मम देवानां कार्यसिद्ध्यर्थम् आविर्भवति सा यदा.
उत्पन्नेति तदा लोके सा नित्याप्यभिधीयते. You can say that word together. नित्याप्यभिधीयते योग निद्रां यदा विष्णुर् जगत्ये कार्णवी कृते. उत्पन्नेति तदा लोके सा नित्याप्यभिधीयते योग निद्रां यदा विष्णुर्जगत्ये कार्णवी कृते.
उत्पन्नेति तदा लोके सा नित्याप्यभिधीयते योगनिद्रां यदा विष्णुर्जगत्येकार्णवीकृते. उत्पन्नेति तदा लोके सा नित्याप्यभिधीयते योगनिद्रां यदा विष्णुर्जगत्येकार्णवीकृते.
उत्पन्नेति तदा लोके सा नित्याप्यभिधीयते योगनिद्रां यदा विष्णुर्जगत्येकार्णविकृते उत्पन्नेति तथा लोके सानिध्याप्यभिधीयते योगनिद्रां यदा विष्णुर्जगत्येकार्णविकृते
Astirya Shesham Abhajat. If you want to break it, that ma Shesham Abhajat Kalpante Bhagavan Prabhu Tada Dva Vasurau Ghorau Vikyatau Madhu Kaitabhau. Astirya Shesham Abhajat Kalpante Bhagavan Prabhu Tada Dva Vasurau Ghorau Vikyatau Madhu Kaitabhau.
आस्तीर्यशेषमभजत् कल्पान्ते भगवान् प्रभुः तदा द्वा वसुरौ घोरौ विख्यातौ मधुकैटभौ आस्तीर्यशेषमभजत् कल्पान्ते भगवान् प्रभुः तदा द्वा वसुरौ घोरौ विख्यातौ मधुकैटभौ
आस्तीर्यशेषमभजत्
Shesham Abhajat. If you want to break it.
शेषमभजत् ओके आस्तीर्यशेषमभजत् कल्पान्ते भगवान् प्रभुः तदा वसुरौ घोरौ विख्यातौ मधुकैटभौ आस्तीर्यशेषमभजत् कल्पान्ते भगवान् प्रभुः तदा वसुरौ घोरौ विख्यातौ मधुकैटभौ
Vishnu Karna Malodbhutau Hantum Brahmanam Udyatau. If you want to break it, Brahmanam Udyatau. Sa Nabhi Kamale Vishnoho. Put is Vishnos Stito Brahma Prajapatihi. Vishnu Karna Malodbhutau Hantum Brahmanam Udyatau. Sa Nabhi Kamale Vishnos Stito Brahma Prajapatihi.
विष्णु कर्णमलोद्भूतौ हन्तुं ब्रह्माणमुद्यतौ सनाभिकमले विष्णु स्थितौ ब्रह्मा प्रजापतिः विष्णोर्कर्णमलोद्भूतौ हन्तुं ब्रह्माणमुद्यतौ सनाभिकमले विष्णु स्थितौ ब्रह्मा प्रजापतिः
Vishnu, I heard a Vishnur. There's no ir there.
Vishnu and there's the Sandhi வருதுலையா அங்க
இல்ல அங்க Vishnu Karna அப்படிதான் இருக்கு. Do you have a visarga there?
Okay, Vishnu Karna. Okay. No.
Okay. Vishnu Karna.
विष्णु कर्णमलोद्भूतौ हन्तुं ब्रह्माणमुद्यतौ सनाभिकमले विष्णु स्थितो ब्रह्मा प्रजापतिः विष्णुकर्णमलोद्भूतौ हन्तुं ब्रह्माणमुद्यतौ सनाभिकमले विष्णु स्थितो ब्रह्मा प्रजापतिः
दृष्ट्वा ता वसुरौ चोग्रौ प्रसुप्तं च जनार्दनं तुष्टाव योग निद्रां ताम in break that tam ekagra hridaya stitah vibodha nartaya harer hari netra kritalayam दृष्ट्वा तावसुरौ चोग्रौ प्रसुप्तं च जनार्दनं तुष्टावयोग निद्रां ताम् एकाग्रहृदयस्थितः विबोधनार्थाय हरेर्हरिनेत्रकृतालयाम्
दृष्ट्वा तावसुरौ चोग्रौ प्रसुप्तं च जनार्दनं तुष्टावयोगनिद्रां ताम्
एकाग्रहृदयस्थितः
विबोधनार्थाय हरिर्नेत्रकृतालयाम् दृष्ट्वा तामसुरौ चोग्रौ प्रसुप्तं च जनार्दनं तुष्टावयोगनिद्रां ताम् एकाग्रहृदयस्थितः विभो विबोधनार्थाय हरे विबोधनार्थाय विबोधनार्थाय हरिर्नेत्रकृतालयाम् हरिनेत्रकृतालयाम्
दृष्ट्वा तावसुरौ चोग्रौ प्रसुप्तां च जनार्दनं तुष्टावयोगनिद्रां तुष्टावयोगनिद्रां ताम् एकग्रहृदयस्थितः विबोधनार्थाय हरिर्नेत्र कृतालयाम्.
You're also saying Harir, right? I think it's just Hari Netra Kritalayam.
Okay. दृष्ट्वा तावसुरौ चोग्रौ प्रसुप्तं च जनार्दनं तुष्टावयोगनिद्रां ताम् एकग्रहृदयस्थितः विबोधनार्थाय हरिनेत्र कृतालयाम्.
I intentionally jumped that one line because if you look at the next line, it's Vishweshwarim Jagadhatrim Sthiti Samharakarinim Nidram Bhagavati Vishnor Atulam Tejasa Prabhakrata. That's coming from the Ratri Sukta, right? That is what is coming here. Like I said, that comes as part of this, right? So we'll kind of just say the meaning till here first, right? So when what do you call the sage is telling, right, who this Mahamaya is, right? So he says, you know what, she comes, like I said, she exists permanently, there's no birth or death. However, for helping the devas and for doing good, she once in a while she incarnates, and then we just loosely say that she's actually born at that time. So then she's talking about this period where no creation is happening, right? So I don't want to get into the details of that because that will become a whole discussion of its own. But very quickly, there are these periods where creation stops, right? And then nothing happens, and everything is dissolved. And there are multiple types of pralaya and all. But when there's nothing happening between the major pralaya, then it is said that Vishnu is in a state of sleep, yogic slumber. Doesn't mean he's sleeping like how we sleep. That means he's in a state where nothing is happening. There's nothingness. There is no worlds. There are no creatures. There are nothing that is there. And that continues for a while. And then first Brahma comes, and then the creation starts all over again, right? So at that time, when Vishnu was in this yogic slumber, and then the time when Brahma comes. Now this Brahma also has days, right? So Brahma has a day. One day of Brahma is 1,000 Chatur Yugas, right? So one Chatur Yuga is like the 4 Yugas put together, 1,000 Chatur Yugas, Manu, or that is all details. But anyway, so when the Brahma comes, right, at that time the Brahma has to start the creation. So it's like you going for the first day of work versus you going every day for work. So there are two types of first day, right? Or a morning or a wake up for Brahma, right? So when Brahma comes, then he goes and meditates, he contemplates, all of that happens. So when one of those days, right, and the reason I'm saying one of those days are because there are multiple stories which happen when Brahma's day comes. So one of those days, and this is for the current Brahma, that is for sure, because this Brahma is coming from the Nabhi of Vishnu. So this is the current Brahma who is there. So this Brahma, one of the days, two asuras called Madhu and Kaitaba. So they are coming from the ear wax of Vishnu. This Vishnu who is in yogic slumber, nothing is there, and only Brahma is there. He is sitting on the lotus, which is coming from the Nabi of the Lord, and he's contemplating, saying, what do I do? I don't know what to do about creation. So at that time, it's not the first day, because of which Brahma already has knowledge of the Vedas, right, of what is there. So these two asuras, Madhu and Kaitaba, come, and then their goal is to trouble Brahma. So they decide that, you know what, I'm going to hurt Brahma, right? And like I said, so so Brahma is sitting there, and then he's wondering what to do, because Vishnu is still in a state of trance. He's in this meditation, right? So he has to wake up this Vishnu. So so what he does is he actually does a stuti to this Yoga Maya, who's part of Vishnu. So he's doing that stuti to that Yoga Maya of Vishnu, saying, oh Yoga Maya, you are part of Vishnu, you are omnipresent, you are eternal like Vishnu is. right? And you are incomparable. She says all these great things and says, I want you to come out of Vishnu, because the moment you come out of Vishnu, then Vishnu is going to be able to get up out of the slumber. All right, and then he's going to realize what is happening. He's going to see that this Madhu and Kaitaba are there who are harassing me, and Vishnu is then going to put an end to them. Right, so that stuti which Brahma does is that Vishweshwarim Jagat Datrim, which we saw in the Ratri Sukta, which he says that, you know, you are Swaha, you are Swada, you are the Om, you are, you know, the syllable of the Om. So all of that stuff he goes and praises, right, which we already saw. So that we'll kind of skip through all of that, and then when we jump into what actually happens. So here there are you know, different versions of that, right? So the what Vishnu then does is, so say Brahma goes and praises Yogamaya, and then when Yogamaya is praised, then, you know, then she then comes out of Vishnu. So who's in the base, she comes out. So when that happens, and Lord Vishnu wakes up. So when Lord Vishnu wakes up and he sees that this Madhu and Kaitaba are harassing Brahma and he has to put an end to them, so then Vishnu then takes care of getting rid of Madhu and Kaitaba, right? So if you come to think of it directly, Yogamaya is not doing it, right? But she's responsible for telling Vishnu that you have to now step up and help out, and then she's the energy who's feeding Vishnu to say, you go and do this, right? So that is what is happening. So that is why this sage is telling about the greatness, saying without Yogamaya, Vishnu would have not done anything, and he would have been in that slumber, and nothing would have happened to Brahma. Brahma, you know, the Vedas would have been lost, and Brahma would not be able to do it, right? So that is this story of Madhu and Kaitaba, and this battle is not described. It just stays in one line, saying that Vishnu then comes and Vishnu gets rid of Madhu and Kaitaba, right? That's all. So that's all he says, but he says that is the power of Yogamaya. Now, there are a couple of...
question. So this Madhu and Kaitaba came from Vishnu, right?
Yeah, from the earwax of Vishnu they came.
Why is it not in Bhagavatam?
Yeah, so I'll tell you. So I was going to say some tangential connections to this, right? Okay. So in Bhagavatam, it is not there directly, but if you look at the Prahlada Stuti, which he does to Narasimha, so in that he goes on praising all the avatarams, and then he says, oh, Narayana, you came, you know, out of when this year, out of your, so there are three different things, okay? In Devi Mahatmyam, in this, it just says Vishnu comes and Vishnu gets rid of Madhu and Kaitaba. It doesn't say how. Okay, that is one story as it is there in Devi Mahatmyam. Now, if you go to Bhagavatam and you look at the Prahlada Stuti, which is in the 7th canto, right? So Prahlada is saying, when Madhu and Kaitaba came out of your earwax and they started harassing Brahma, right? Then you took the form of Hayagriva, and then you got rid of Madhu and Kaitaba, right? So he's praising, Prahlada is praising all the avatarams of Vishnu and all the greatness of Vishnu that he's done. And in that he comes and says that you came as Hayagriva and then you got rid of Madhu and Kaitaba, right? So this is one story which comes in Bhagavatam of a Hayagriva avataram of Mahavishnu to get rid of Madhu and Kaitaba, who stole the Vedas from Brahma. Now, some other day, that's why I said this is some day, some kalpa, right? Some other day again, when Brahma, if you remember, Brahma, the Vedas are stolen, right, by an asura called as Hayagriva, not by Vishnu avatar. Hayagriva just means some person who's got a horse of head of a horse, right? That's all it means. So another asura called as Hayagriva steals the Vedas. So then the Lord comes first in the form of a Matsyavataram, for the first time Matsyavataram, to then get rid of that Hayagriva and recover the Vedas. So that's why I said there's some kalpa. It's some other kalpa, right, of this Brahma. So, but again, that is not there in Devi Mahatmyam or anything. I'm just kind of saying, because you hear these words, right, of Madhu Kaitaba, it comes in Bhagavatam also. You hear the word Hayagriva, it comes in multiple places. It's an Asura, it can also be the Lord. So it depends on in what context you are using, right? And the story about this Madhu and Kaitaba, they use some bija mantras, they prayed to this Yogamaya, and then they said that, you know, we want a power, right? Again, all of them say that I don't want to be killed, right? And, you know, so the Yogamaya says, you will not be killed until you desire to be killed. So you have to desire, I should desire that I want to be killed, then you will die, right? So when Vishnu and this Madhu Kaitaba battle goes on, it keeps going on. And at some point, you know, Vishnu says, you know what, you are amazing, both of you, right? You're so strong. So I want to give you a boon, right? Because I'm so impressed with you. I want to give you a boon. So Madhu Kaitaba says, who are you to give me a boon? I give you a boon, right? You ask whatever you want. So then Vishnu says, I want you both to die. That is the boon I want. And that's how they both die. Right? That is the story that is there of how they both end up dying because they give the boon to Mahavishnu of how they want to die. And because they desire that, that's how their death happens. Right? So anyway, so this is the story of Madhu and Kaitaba, how Yogamaya and Vishnu help to get rid of them, which is part of chapter 1, which Sumedas is telling the king and the Vaishya. Okay. So let's see where this ends, right? Bodhas Chakri Mahantimeto Mahasura. I think that's where it ends. So 88 in my Sanskrit text. I don't know, in your text, you'll have to see where it is. So I think Anandji, you and Raj, you can be student for the second half, okay? So you should be able to see Rishiru Vacha Evam Stuta Tada Devi. If you're able to find that. Okay, that should be 88. So that is where Ratri Suktam that ends, and then we'll start with the rest of it. Rishiru Vacha Evam Stuta Tada Devi Tamasi Tatra Vedasa. Rishiru Vacha Evam Stuta Tada Devi Tamasi Tatra Vedasa.
ऋषिरुवाच एवं स्तुत्वा तदा देवी तामसी तत्र वेदसा ऋषिरुवाच
Stuta. You said Stutva or something. Stuta.
ऋषिरुवाच एवं स्तुता तदा देवी तामसी तत्र वेदसा
ऋषिरुवाच एवं स्तुता तदा देवी तामसी तत्र वेदसा ऋषिरुवाच एवं स्तुता तदा देवी तामसी तत्र वेदसा.
Rajesh, can I put a question? So if number chapter 1 particular 70, after 70, do we have to just jump to 80?
No, you say the whole thing. You say the whole thing. Yeah, I'm just keeping it because you already learned. But you say the whole thing. Yeah. Vishnoho, put a F. Vishnov prabodha nartaya nihantum madhu kaitabhau netrasya nasika bahu. So this is kind of saying netra, eyes, nasika, nose, bahu, arms, hridaya. So from all the parts of Vishnu, Yogamaya comes out, right? That's what this line is telling. So netrasya nasika bahu hridayebhyas tato rasaha. Vishnu prabodhanartaya nihantum madhukaitabhau netrasya nasika bahu hridayebhyas tato rasaha.
विष्णो प्रबोधनार्थाय निहन्तुं मधुकैडभो नेत्रास्य नासिका बाहु हृदयेभ्यस्तदो रसः विष्णो प्रबोधनार्थाय निहन्तुं मधुकैडभो नेत्रास्य नासिका बाहु हृदयेभ्यस्तदो रसः
विष्णोः प्रबोधनार्थाय निहन्तुं मधुकैटभौ नेत्रास्य नासिका बाहु हृदयेभ्यस्तदो रसः विष्णोः प्रबोधनार्थाय निहन्तुं मधुकैटभौ नेत्रास्य नासिका बाहु हृदयेभ्यस्तदो रसः
निर्गम्य दर्शने तस्थौ ब्रह्मणो व्यक्त comes together ब्रह्मणो व्यक्त जन्मनः उत्तस्थौ इत्तंडता उत्तस्थौ च जगन्नाथः put is जगन्नाथस् तया मुक्तो जनार्दनः निर्गम्य दर्शने तस्थौ ब्रह्मणो व्यक्त जन्मनः उत्तस्थौ च जगन्नाथस्तया मुक्तो जनार्दनः
निर्गम्य दर्शने तस्थौ ब्रह्मणो व्यक्तजन्मनः उत्तस्थो जगन्नाथस्तया मुक्तो जनार्दनः निर्गम्य दर्शने तस्थौ ब्रह्मणो व्यक्तजन्मनः उत्तस्थो जगन्नाथस्तया मुक्तो जनार्दनः
अनि दत्तन जगन्नाथस्
जगन्नाथस्तया उत्तस्थो च जगन्नाथस्तया मुक्तो जनार्दनः
निर्गम्य दर्शने तस्थौ ब्राह्मणो व्यक्तजन्मनः उत्तस्थौ च जगन्नाथस्तया मुक्तो जनार्दनः.
Raj, the first line brahmano vyakta.
Rajesh, the 91 la Jagannathas tadava tayava.
Taya.
Taya.
Why?
Okay.
निर्गम्य दर्शने तस्थौ ब्रह्मणो व्यक्तजन्मनः उत्तस्थौ जगन्नाथस्तया मुक्तो जनार्दनः.
Ekarnave Hishayanat, because Ahishayanat, but that S symbol is there, so you have to say that together. Ekarnave Hishayanat it tataha, put a is tatas sa dadrishe chatau madhu kaitabau duratmanavati, that comes together, duratmanavati virya parakramau. एकार्णवे हि शयनात् ततः सददृशे च तौ मधुकैटभौ दुरात्मानवति वीर्यपराक्रमौ. Oh, Anuj, you're on mute.
एकार्णवे हि शयनात् ततः सददर्श च. What do you say next?
ततः स ददृशे.
एकार्णवे हि शयनात् ततः ददृशे च तौ मधुकैटभो दुरात्मानावधि वीर्यपराक्रमो. एकार्णवे हि शयनात् ततः ददृश्ये च तौ मधुकैटभो दुरात्मानावधि वीर्यपराक्रमो.
एकार्णवे हि शयानतस् ददृशे तौ मधुकैटभौ दुरात्मानवति वीर्यपराक्रमौ.
First line, एकार्णवे हि शयनात्.
शयनात् ततः, right?
Yeah, tatas, yeah, एकार्णवे हि शयनात् ततः स.
Okay. एकार्णवे हि शयनात् ततः ददृशे तौ मधुकैटभौ दुरात्मानवति वीर्यपराक्रमौ.
क्रोध रक्ते क्षणा वत्तुं ब्रह्माणं जनितोद्यमौ समुत्थाय ततस्ताभ्यां युयुधे भगवान् हरिः. क्रोध रक्ते क्षणा वत्तुं ब्रह्माणं जनितोद्यमौ समुत्थाय ततस्ताभ्यां युयुधे भगवान् हरिः.
क्षणा वत्तुम और वंदुम.
वत्तुम क्षणा वत्तुम it and tha वत्तुम.
क्रोधा रक्ते क्षणा वत्तुम ब्रह्माणं जनितोद्यमो समुदाय तदास्ताभ्यां युयुधे भगवान् हरिः. क्रोध रक्ते क्षणा वत्तुम ब्रह्माणं जनितोद्यमो समुदाय तदस्ताभ्यां युयुधे भगवान् हरिः.
That second line, first word, samuthaya
तदस्ताभ्यां.
Second tha, samuthaya. Correct, yes.
समुत्थाय तदास्ताभ्यां. Thank you, Raj.
क्रोधदक्षे क्षणावत्तुं ब्रह्माणं जनितोद्यमौ समुत्थाय ततस्ताभ्यां युयुधे भगवान् हरिः. क्रोधरक्ते क्षणावत्तुं ब्रह्माणं जनितोद्यमौ समुत्थाय ततस्ताभ्यां युयुधे भगवान् हरिः.
पंच वर्ष सहस्राणि बाहु प्रहरणो विभुः तावप्यति बलोन्मत्तौ महामाया विमोहितौ. This is the next one also. Uktavantau varosmatto. First is uktavantau, next is varosmatto briyatam iti keshavam. पंचवर्ष सहस्राणि बाहु प्रहरणो विभुः तावप्यति बलोन्मत्तौ महामाया विमोहितौ उक्तवन्तौ वरोस्मत्तो ब्रियतामिति केशवम्.
पंचवर्ष सहस्राणि बाहु प्रहरणो विभुः तावप्यति बलोन्मत्तो महामाया विमोहितो उक्तवन्तो वरोस्मत्तो प्रियतामिति केशवम्. पञ्चवर्षसहस्राणि बाहुप्रहरणो विभुः तावप्यदि बलोन्मत्तो महामाया विमोहितो उक्तवन्धो वरोस्मत्तो प्रियतामिति केशवम्
पञ्चवर्षसहस्राणि बाहुप्रहरणो विभुः तापप्यतिबलोन्मत्तौ महामाया विमोहितौ उक्तवन्तौ वरोस्मत्तो व्रियतामिति केशवम् पञ्चवर्षसहस्राणि बाहुप्रहरणो विभुः तावप्यतिबलोन्मत्तौ महामाया विमोहितौ उक्तवन्तौ वरोस्मत्तो व्रियतामिति केशवम्
शा sound there. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Bhavetamadya me tuštau mama vadyavubhavapi kimanyena varenatra eta vaddhi vritam mama. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Bhavetamadya me tuštau mama vadyavubhavapi kimanyena varenatra eta vaddhi vritam mama.
श्री भगवानुवाच भवेदामद्य मे तुष्टो मम व्याधावुभावपि
बद्यावुभावपि बद्या मम बद्या
मम वध्यावुभावपि किमनेन वरेणात्र एतावद्धिवृतं मम श्रीभगवानुवाच भवेदामद्य मे तुष्टो मम वध्यावुभावपि किमनेन वरेणात्र एतावद्धिवृतं मम
श्रीभगवानुवाच भवेतामद्य मे तुष्टौ मम वध्यावुभावपि किमन्येन वरेणात्र एतावद्धिवृतं मम श्रीभगवानुवाच भवेतामद्य मे तुष्टौ मम वध्यावुभावपि किमन्येन वरेणात्र एतावद्धिवृतं मम
ऋषिरुवाच वञ्चिताभ्यामिति तदा सर्वमापोमयं you can say it together सर्वमापोमयं जगत् विलोक्य ताभ्यां गदितो भगवान् कमलेक्षणः आवां जहि न यत्रोर्वी सलिलेन परिप्लुता ऋषिरुवाच वञ्चिताभ्यामिति तदा सर्वमापोमयं जगत् विलोक्यताभ्यां गदितो भगवान् कमलेक्षणः आवां जहि न यत्रोर्वी सलिलेन परिप्लुता
ऋषिरुवाच वञ्चिताभ्यामिति तथा सर्वमापोमयं जगत् विलोक्यताभ्यां गदितो भगवान् कमलेक्षणः आवां जहि न यत्रोर्वी सलिलेन परिप्लुता ऋषिरुवाच वञ्चिताभ्यामिति तथा सर्वमापोमयं जगत् विलोक्यताभ्यां गदितो भगवान् कमलेक्षणः आवां जहि न यत्रोर्वी सलिलेन परिप्लुता
ऋषिरुवाच वञ्चिताभ्यामिति तदा सर्वमापोमयं जगत् विलोक्यताभ्यां गदितो भगवान् कमलेक्षणः आवां जहि न यत्रोर्वी सलिलेन परिप्लुता ऋषिरुवाच वञ्चिताभ्यामिति तदा सर्वमापोमयं जगत् विलोक्यताभ्यां गदितो भगवान् कमलेक्षणः आवां जहि न यत्रोर्वी सलिलेन परिप्लुता
ऋषिरुवाच ततेत् युक्त्वा भगवता शङ्ख चक्र गदा भृता कृत्वा चक्रेण वैच्छिन्ने इच and then cha वैच्छिन्ने जगने शिरसि तयोः. So I forgot to say this. So the Madhu and Kaitaba say that because there's water everywhere, they say we don't want to be killed in any place where there's water. They agree to be killed, but they say we don't want to be killed in any place where there's water. So the Lord then takes them on their lap like Narasimha Avataram. That's why he says Shankha Chakra Gadabrata, the one who has Shankha Chakram, all of that, you take them on your lap, and then you then with Sudarshana Chakra you then get rid of them with the Chakratva Chakrena. So with the Sudarshana Chakra you get rid of them. ऋषिरुवाच ततेत्युक्त्वा भगवता शङ्खचक्रगदाभृता कृत्वा चक्रेण वैच्छिन्ने जगने शिरसि तयोः
ऋषिरुवाच तदेत्युक्ता भगवता शङ्खचक्रगदाभृता कृत्वा चक्रेण वैच्छिन्ये जङ्गने शिरसि तयोः जगने शिरसि तयोः ऋषिरुवाच तदेत्युक्ता भगवता शङ्खचक्रगदाभृता कृत्वा चक्रेण वैच्छिन्ये जगने शिरसि तयोः
ऋषिर्वाच तदेत्युक्त्वा भगवता शङ्खचक्रगदाभृता कृत्वा चक्रेण वैच्छिन्ने जघने शिरसि तयोः ऋषिर्वाच तदेत्युक्त्वा भगवता शङ्खचक्रगदाभृता कृत्वा चक्रेण वैच्छिन्ने जघने शिरसि तयोः
एवमेषा समुत्पन्ना ब्रह्मणा संस्तुता स्वयं प्रभावमस्या देव्यास्तु भूयः भूयः शृणु वदामि ते. Says thus, with Brahma doing the stuti and Yogamaya helping out, Mahavishnu is getting rid of Madhu and Kaitapa. This is the story I've told you so far. I'm going to tell you more stories about the Devi later on. That's how the sage wraps it up, the chapter 1. And he says, Aim, Om. So if you remember the beginning of this chapter, we started with Om, Aim, Markandeyo. We started with Aim, right? It ends this chapter with Aim. Next chapters 2, 3 and 4 will have Hreem at the beginning of 2 and the end of 4th will have Hreem. Then beginning of 5 will have Kleem and the end of 13th will have end with Kleem. That's the three parts of it, right? The Pratama, Madhyama and the Uttara, 3 bhagas of the thing. एवमेषा समुत्पन्ना ब्रह्मणा संस्तुता स्वयं प्रभावमस्या देव्यास्तु भूयः शृणु वदामि ते. ऐं ओम.
एवमेषा समुत्पन्ना ब्रह्मणा संस्तुता स्वयं प्रभावमस्या देव्यास्तु भूयः शृणु वदामि ते. ऐं ओम. एवमेषा समुत्पन्ना ब्रह्मणा संस्तुता स्वयं प्रभावमस्या देव्यास्तु भूयः शृणु वदामि ते. ऐं ओम.
एवमेषा समुत्पन्ना ब्राह्मणा संस्तुता स्वयं प्रभावमस्या देव्यास्तु भूयः शृणु वदामि ते.
शृणु वदामि ते.
वदामि ते. ऐं ओम.
Raj, again that first line Brahmana. You said Brahmana. Brahmana.
एवमेषा समुत्पन्ना ब्रह्मणा संस्तुता स्वयं प्रभावमस्या देव्यास्तु भूयः शृणु वदामि ते. ऐं ओम.
So we still have one small portion left, and by 8:15 we'll be able to finish exactly today. So there is this few lines we chant at the end of every chapter. Each adhyayam has a adhyaya devata. So for the first one, I don't know if hopefully you all have that small thing in the end of back of your thing. So here this is Vagbhava Bijadishtatre. Bija, it's Vagbhava Bija Adishtatre, but you can say it together. Bijadishtatre Shri Mahakalye Namaha. Okay, so I'm not going to break it. I'm going to say that paragraph once, and Anandji and Raja say it one time. Okay, so this come actually people say it in a tune, but my tune always goes off, so don't worry too much about the tune, right? You can, people who know the tune can say it with tune. Satya santu yajamanasya kamaah. Om namo devyai mahadevyai shivayai satatam namah. Namah prakrityai bhadrayai niyatah pranatasmatam. Sangayai sayudayai saparivaraye sarvatmikayai. Vagbhava bhijadishtatre Shri Mahakalye Namaha.
Satya santu yajamanasya kamaah. Om namo devye mahadevi shivaye satatam namaha. Namah prakrite bhadraye niyatas pranatasmadam. Sanghaye sayudhaye saparivaraye sarvatmikaye. Vagbhava bijadishtatre Sri Mahakali Namaha.
Yeah.
तत्या सन्तु यजमानस्य कामाः ॐ नमो देव्यै महादेव्यै शिवायै सततं नमः नमः प्रकृत्यै भद्रायै नियता प्रणता स्मताम् सांगायै सायुधायै सपरिवारायै सर्वात्मिकायै वाग्भवबीजाधिष्ठात्रै श्रीमहाकाल्यै नमः
ராஜேஷ் நாங்க கொடுத்த புக்ல இந்த நீங்க சொன்ன 4 லைன் இல்ல.
I'll send you a screenshot of it. Yeah.
ஆமா ஆமா
I'll send you a screenshot because this 4 lines comes at the end of every chapter. Only the Adhyaya Devata changes for every chapter. So you can copy that whole thing, and then when we go through each chapter, I can tell you what the Adhyaya Devata is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
On time first chapter. Next class will be
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.